All right, we are live. Welcome to the Habitat Team's public issue triage for the week of July the 4th. Tomorrow. Happy birthday, America. And happy birthday to Canada too while we're at it, because that was technically Sunday, right? So that's this week as well. It's just birthdays for nations all around this week. It's an important week. So let's go ahead and get started. We don't have a ton of issues, thank goodness. We've been doing a pretty good job of keeping all of the stuff kind of sorted and down to a minimal amount. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and then we'll kind of kick it off and see how much we can get done. Hopefully a lot. All right. Okay. Here we go. Look at that board. A lot of stuff on that board. Okay, so the first one is going to be builder number 462, which is a fresh epic that Ryan put in. I think this is probably just in the wrong pipeline. I would assume if we've added these things, they can probably just go directly into the backlog, especially for issues like this that are tracking issues. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over. It looks like there might be a few that are that just have the wrong, either that or maybe it's possible that we've just been sorting out all the epics.
Yeah, I don't think we've been tackling the epics. They should just get moved out.
Okay, yeah, I'll just do that.
Non-triaged column.
Cool. Just dump those in there. And for those of you that are users watching this video or watching the stream live, if that's happening, if you ever have curiosity about some of the things that are coming, you can always go out to this board and take a look. So, okay, on-prem builder number 67. So give everybody a second to read it. Looks like there's actually been quite a bit of conversation around this. Ah, yes. Oh. Got it.
Mm.
So this is a non-issue.
Yep, looks like it.
Yeah. Though, interestingly enough, this is not the same error that he's referencing down here, up here. But I'm going to go ahead and guess that yeah, it looks like maybe there was a comment that got deleted or something, because it looks like this is how the thread starts, but then John is referring to something that is not mentioned in this original comment. So I'm wondering if there was a comment that got deleted. I don't know if there's a way to recover that.
I think there's a different issue that also talks about some friction when you have self-signed certs. You know, because we don't have a great way to add things to the CA certs, and you know we have to do these workarounds. So I think there's a tracking issue there. This one, if you know Daniels resolves this issue, can probably just close.
Okay. Yep.
Rather than having this be the discussion point.
Yeah.
It just becomes confusing talking about multiple things.
All right, good. Close that out. Great. Now, once my computer catches up, we'll move on to Habitat 5262, 5,262. And I'll give everybody a moment to read it. Wow. That could be an interesting feature. Yeah, I mean, that sounds to me like a pretty cool idea for a feature.
It also seems it could get confusing.
Oh, yeah, it does seem like that as well. Yeah.
So we're half managing. This is kind of in half managed state. We just write the configs, but we don't start services or anything like that, is what I'm reading into this.
Yeah, that's effectively what it seems like.
I've always thought of this a bit as like an ambassador pattern, like a stand-in. So like I kind of represent the database, even though I'm not in fact running the database, but I can tell you the IP address for the database because I'm its ambassador. I got a little confused there by proxy, but that's probably just me making assumptions about network proxies. Yeah. It would be interesting to have this be more of a feature rather than right now. You can kind of do this, but it's more of a pattern, and you have to sort of write a little no-ops service to do it. It would be kind of neat if you had the ability for that to be a little more feature level and less like pattern level.
Yeah, I think that could be super cool to not have to write those proxy packages for things like this. Is this work that we feel like we would do, or just work that we feel like we would accept?
It feels to me like work that we would accept, although this is like totally cool. It just, given our current backlog, and also I think there's people out there that are very capable of contributing something like this. That's my 2 cents. Okay. Although somebody else thinks that this is something that we could have cycles for. But it's like this is way cool, especially for like the hairy database scenario, like the Oracle or SQL Server type of scenarios where like you've already got a big database out there and you don't want to have re-raise the data, like raise up a whole new database, with inside of HAB, but yet you want all that binding and configuration compatibility with it. Like, this is a really cool pattern.
Yeah. Well, I'm inclined to put it in help wanted for now, and then we could always move it if we decide that it's a feature that we really want to take on, or if it becomes a feature that gets prioritized for us. I do think tracking it and holding on to it bare minimum is a good idea. So that's what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and drop this into the backlog, and we will assign it as help wanted. And this change is going to be mostly I would assume, CLI and supervisor work. Though there might be some plan build stuff in there too.
It's hard to say. Yeah, I kind of feel like the heart of this is probably within the supervisor, but some of that work might flow back out to package format, if that is a thing, because maybe it's something that you want to get away with not having to build a package to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. I don't imagine this will be incredibly easy, but that's kind of left up to whoever wants to dig into it. So for now, we'll throw the help wanted, priority 3 Rust feature and supervisor on there. Should give anybody who has an idea that wants to implement this some feelings about where to start. So, all right. Moving on to builder number 507.
Oh, this is mine, isn't it?
It is.
I must have not gotten one. There's one reason why this came up in triage and why my labels failed, but I don't know what it is.
It just probably didn't get put in the backlog.
That's what it is. Okay. Well, okay. So I mean, I can quickly say I found this when I was the work that I'm currently working on involves making some changes in core and then sort of rebuilding the rest to make sure that that I've accounted for everything. And in doing that, what I was doing with some of our repos is running cargo build and cargo test from the root of the project, because that's a really quick way to like build everything in Builder and build everything in Habitat. So while running cargo tests, this came up. So that would be our integration test for some of the database stuff, where it's basically installing and running Postgres service, but under Habitat. So and this was me on my workstation. So it was installing and running Postgres for my system, not for my user. And it also, because of the changes in the way that our supervisor changed in, what is it, a couple of releases ago, 056, something like that, we basically now have a persistent service that's running. So the next time I ran cargo test, it already had Postgres, and so it basically died, more or less telling me that, and I couldn't run my integration test the second time, which is kind of unfortunate. And I'm honestly not sure how our CI is getting around this, if we're just not running those tests, or what, or maybe the directories that that Postgres have to talk to get a fresh copy that's empty every time. I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like CI is working. If it's working, it's a little almost by accident, or like it doesn't work for the developer experience, and I thought I better capture that.
Yeah, cool. Well, then for now, I've just put it in the backlog. It's already labeled, so you should be good to go.
I was so close.
So close. Yeah. Okay. Habitat 5264. Yeah. So this has come up in the Kinvolk calls, and I think that Elliot has a little more context on this, but this is mostly how to repro the problem that he refers to. We do believe, I think the last time we talked about it, we do believe that this is actually a real bug. And so most likely we're just going to accept this. This actually, oh, and John's not on the call. This is the one that Elliot was mentioning earlier today.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe it's supervisor stuff. Oops. Wrong thing there. It's all supervisor related bugs. And that'll be some Rust. Throw that in soup. And I'll just dump that in the backlog. Good to go. All right, Habitat 5268. Oh.
That's unfortunate.
Is that the new version in glibc 227? Yeah.
What could be? It would not surprise me if this never worked.
Uh-oh.
Well, okay, that is a weird error.
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy that.
2 versions of glibc are showing up in disk. Oh, right. That makes sense. Yeah. So, and it looks like Steve and Dana put up a link to a forum post from this week as well.
This might be true. I mean, it's most likely true. Our like in the plan, our attach is me writing a mini REPL. So it's you know, like it's as hacky as you think it would be for reading a line and telling Bash to eval that line like within limits. That's basically what it's doing. So that's where I'm surprised that it has issues, but also not surprised that there would be strange things at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do we want to, I mean, I would assume this is behavior that we do want to support. We want people to be able to grep inside a debug session.
I imagine it'd be nice, or at least we should document why that can't work as a minimum. Yeah. That is worth, if that's probably fixable. If it's reproducible, and it looks like it probably is.
I think all you got to do is try to grep in attach, and I think that's probably all you got to do. I would assume it should affect pretty much every iteration of the studio.
That's kind of what I'm guessing.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that into the backlog then. Attach the necessary labels. There we go. Accepted. All right, Habitat 5269. For this one, we probably need to get some more information to validate whether or not this is a correct, whether or not this is an actual issue or if it's environmental.
Yeah, if it turns out to be true, we should be prioritizing this one.
Yes, yeah.
At least that would be in my opinion.
All right, I'll leave a comment asking for some more information. For now, I'm going to add some labels. I'm not going to move it out of the triage column until we have a little more information, but I'm going to add the supervisor label, and I'm going to put a P2 label on it instead of P3. And this is going to be soup. And hopefully we'll hear something back soon, and then we can further triage down into whether or not it's an actual bug or if it's a documentation thing or user error. Hopefully, right? That could be a big problem if it's an actual legitimate error. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on from 5269 to 5279. Jump by 10. Oh, this is another epic, so I'm actually just going to move that into the backlog. If my computer will cooperate. Yes. All right, so we're actually going to move on to builder number 510. Yes, indeed. Wanting to see if we can take a look here. Yeah, so a lot of those values, effectively the issue. Well, effectively the issue here is just that we don't do any tight validation inside of the build program for that package source, right? I would assume what we could theoretically do, and Fletcher, you'd probably know better than I, but we might be able to validate that package source in some more useful way. Oops,
Possibly.
sorry.
So if we know what like some tokens look like in a regexy sense, we could take passes through to say this suspiciously looks like a builder API token based on its length, and there's an underscore and there's an equal sign at the end. Or like if it's a pattern that's concrete enough, short of us having those values, there's probably things that we could do with this. I guess it would be similar strategies to like GitHub scanning Git repos and saying that you have credentials. So it would be a similar kind of strategy, which we'd have to look into what would be good ways to start into stuff like that. But again, I would imagine it probably comes down to clearly articulatable regexes for particular class of APIs is my guess how they're doing that. I'm not 100% sure, short of having them. You don't want to like look for stuff only that you know about kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and it may be possible to simplify that with some kind of trying to think of what all. It's hard, right? Because you could have a string go in there if you're building from source in your repo. You could have a URL in there, and so just validating off of a string is not really that useful. But we can't have a gate that's kick it out if it's not a URL. So you're probably correct, Fletcher. I mean, that's definitely
okay. So the other thing could be, I'm thinking of stuff committed into source code. What happens if you inject some, a GitHub secret that then gets put into your package source with a variable that we inject via a secret? That is something that we could work towards. It might be hard for the studio itself to filter that out. But Builder, as one that consumes the output of a studio build, we could definitely look for things that we know were injected into secrets. And if we ever see those strings, we like redact them and we replace them. So we've done that in a few places already. I don't know if we've done that carte blanche for all like Builder secrets that get injected as have studio secret variables. So if that's maybe one thing that's going on, we could probably do some work there. It's a matter of like when we're streaming the logs off that build, just on every line where we'd have to be, looking through a series of like, if you see this, replace this with that kind of thing. And it would just say like, I don't know, redacted secret or something.
Well, I think that this is probably something that we're going to do. Feels like a somewhat reasonable feature request. And by somewhat, I mean pretty entirely reasonable. We want to protect our users as much as we can. So
yeah.
I
guess I would say this is if I understand this right, this is probably something to fix in Builder at least first. Fixing it in the studio would be kind of great and cool because it would sort of solve the problem everywhere, but that would be hard. Hard as a first place, because the studio itself is just managing sub processes. We're not capturing any output from the thing right now.
I don't know that the studio, like fixing it in the studio, matters really at all, at least initially, just because it's not your studio builds are never going to be exposed publicly unless you build some kind of system to wrap the studio to build things. And at that point, we don't really, that's kind of on your wrapping system, I think. So I'll dump that in there for as a builder issue, and then we've moved it into the backlog. I added studio on there just in case, but isn't totally necessary. And let's go ahead and move on. So the next one is going to be core plans 1636. This is an issue Nell opened, so she could probably give us some context on it.
Yep, there is a failing test when we run it with do check. It doesn't seem to be negatively affecting the functionality, but it's something we need to either address or patch over or tell it to skip. Just haven't had time to do that just yet.
Perfect.
No, this might be another failure. When I rebuilt our set last, I found a failing test that I spent some time on trying to ignore, and I managed to do that, then forgot to put it in our big thing, and I think that I pushed this as a pull request. So
it was a different failing test.
Okay, then it'll be something else. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. But that got that in yesterday, so that one at least is fixed.
Nice. Okay.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Habitat 5289. This came out this morning, actually.
I kind of perused it. It seems like I remember running into this a while back, so this doesn't surprise me. At the time, Hab Studio Run was getting so little attention, on Windows, and I was like busy with a whole bunch of other things, and I must have just forgotten to file the issue. So anyways, I think I'm pretty sure I went in and just at least assigned this to myself, adding this to my to-do list of stuff to check out on Windows. But yeah, this looks legit.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be too bad to solve.
Right. Yeah, I bet you this is probably a simple fix. Because like you mentioned, like Hab package build works.
Yeah. Okay.
There's probably just some like one line of code or some argument that's missing somewhere.
Yep. Oh yeah. Cool. Well, then we'll throw that one in the backlog, and it's all labeled up for you, Matt. And
awesome.
Good. Probably a trivial fix. Okay. Habitat 5292 is going to be the last one. This is also from this morning. I'll give everybody a moment to read it.
Oh man, I've experienced this too.
Yeah, I think that's a bug. I think that.
But it's at least a usability bug. Like, I don't think it was intentional. I believe what's happening is our supervisor is, and this might potentially be a subtle breaking change as a result, but the supervisor is, I think, reading the entire contents of the file and using that as its key, and not the kind of the content inside, like thinking about it. I think this might be a base 64-bit of binary data or something. So it's base 64 characters, and ideally, if we had read the content of it without the new lines and stuff, it would be more consistent. And I had this same problem too. I can't remember how I solved it, because VI or Vim as a text editor puts new lines at the end of the file for you, whereas some editors like Emacs won't do that.
Yep.
And sometimes you get into those problems with Git if you have a policy for adding or not having that, and this file kind of falls prey to that. I think I got around it by using like echoing, and there's a flag you can say don't add a new line to make the file. Like, I did it in a ridiculous way, but you shouldn't necessarily have to do that. I think I would like this to be solved as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to dump that into supervisor as a bug. I would guess. I mean, there's got to be, well, I don't really know how we're handling that data. I'm wondering if there's a way to just strip all white space on it at any given time, but don't know if that's
Yeah, I mean, I
actually
guess I would have
possible.
just read all contents, which we're assuming doesn't have new lines. There's a way, like, basically validate that a little bit and make sure that we're not reading in the new lines as part of our secret. The hard thing is if we make that change, you might likely need to like recycle your control secrets, or they could be interpreted slightly differently.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's something we need to think through a little bit, and even if that's a subtle change, it would probably be worth it. Because I find this frustrating too, and good on this person to add this, because I forgot to do that when I found it.
Cool. I've gone ahead and added into the backlog and assigned it to the supervisor channel there. And that is going to be all of the issues. So with the exception of the one rolling strategy that we're waiting to get some updates on, we are basically done a few minutes early. So with that, thank you everybody for joining in, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Thanks.
See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.